Time over here, and we are showcasing the Avenger Direct. Now, we did show it last year, but it was the prototype form. Now we're in full production. We've shipped it's 20 something. I want to say it's like 25 of them in the past few months, and it's just really been exciting. This is the cutting edge of our direct drive technology and our 3D technology. The beauty of the size of our company is that we always have the ability to stay with the latest and greatest. We don't have to worry about shareholders or things like that. It's just, oh wow, it got better. Let's do it. And that's it. And then we find the best methodology to have trickle-down technology. For example, our Fat Boy bass, the bass that goes on here, so we had the Fat Boy arm, and then we introduced the Fat Boy bass with the VPI Anniversary tone arm. VPI Anniversary turntable. But the Fat Boy arm was so good, and the Fat Boy VTA bass was so good, that we came up with an adapter. So now, and if you'd like to take a look over here, we have the adapter over here, which turns this VTA bass into being able to work on any VPI HRX, TNT, Avenger, anything. If it has a 12-inch arm or 12-inch arm mount, it could do it. And pretty soon we'll have it for 10-inch as well, but we're working on it there. So we're really excited about that. And also, this is a U.S. debut of the AT-MC 2022, their 60th anniversary. Guys, you know what? I'm going to say this whole system, we're not borrowing this system. There is no like, oh, hey, Matt, can you help us out and show it? We own this system. We have bought this over time. That cartridge, and that's Ozawa, right? Ozawa-san right back there, right from Japan, just for all this fun stuff here. And we've bought this cartridge. It's $9,000. This is number 9 out of 60. You can't have it, because I don't know if we can get another. Can we get another? We can get another, you can have it, but we'll see. So
lower number.
There we go. So the circulatory system is Nordas Odin, I believe, all through the whole system over here, and from the tone arm itself. So the tone arm is wired with Nordas straight on through. Electronics from Audio Research, our Audio Research model blocks, phono, and preamplifier. And then at the end of the chain, we have the Tannoy Canterbury's. How did that happen? Because we love Tannoys, and it just so happens we know Kevin Deal over at Upscale, so a quick little phone call, and here they are. Yes, sir.
What about the motor control? Is it outboard motor controller?
It's all inside. It's internal. So we showed, before COVID, we showed the Vanquish. The Vanquish was our complete assault on the high end. Then COVID happened, and the whole world fell apart. So what we felt was having an $80,000 turntable, well, frankly, it's probably $100,000 at this point. Everything's gone up. But we felt that it was kind of unnecessary to focus on that level. So instead, we took the trickle-down technology, and we brought the Avenger Direct to town. And one of the, of course, big savings is taking all the power supplies and everything else through different shieldings and methodologies on the inside. It's totally dead, totally isolated, and all in one can to make it easier, more affordable. Hey, I'm not saying $36,000 is affordable, but if you're looking at a $100,000 turntable, oh, 36, I'll take 2. Would that be nice? With that being said, let's let the turntable do some speaking. Oh, actually, really quick, guys, I almost forgot. In the back over here, I'll show it to you. I have one over here. So we released in this room 4 years ago the VPI Shyla cartridge with Audio-Technica. I'm going to talk about them again for another second. Shyla, the Shyla cartridge is named after my daughter. Well, guys, I had another kid. So is it fair to not have a cartridge for Goldie? So the other day, I leaked it. It was like, oh, who leaked it? It was me! So we leaked that we are bringing to market the VPI Goldie cartridge. This will be available for Q1 of 2023. It's based off of the OC9 cartridge, voiced by VPI, and made and produced by the great people over at Audio-Technica. So, and I get 50 cents for every time I say that.
Robin Wyatt of Robyatt Audio. This is my room 519.
CAF 2022.
2022.
Yep.
So this is primarily a Miyajima system. So let's start at the very front. These are the first time Miyajima's prominent loudspeakers have been seen outside of Japan. They use antique Janszen A12 field coil mid-range drivers or full-range woofers that have been refurbished. They use antique Electro Voice compression driver tweeters with also, that's not a plastic horn, that is a resin Electro Voice horn. In the back of this open baffle, Japanese red pine wood cabinet is on the floor at the back is a tube power supply designed by Miyajima to energize the field coil driver. There's also on the side in the back a paper and oil traditional crossover for the tweeter. Those are 25,500. They run into the Miyajima OTL amplifier. They are stereo amplifiers. They come with a feedback switch, so you can have them with no feedback as you're listening now, and they put out about 6 watts, or if you flick feedback into the circuit, you will get 12 watts. You can also buy another one and flick a switch and get monoblocks with 16 and 22 watts of output. That is fronted by the Miyajima W01 full function preamplifier, 2 phono inputs, one of them's loadable. It doesn't have a volume control, it has an active gain tracking device, which is why the meter's there, so you can take the 2 6SN7s that make that voltage amplifier that controls the volume precise. Into that goes the brand new Miyajima MC2 tube 2-stage head amp. I was shocked at how much better this is than any step-up transformer I own, and I own a lot. The amount of dynamics, detail, and air that this produces is incredible. Obviously, that you can get more noise if you're not very careful with your cabling. It's an active device. It uses NOS 6922 tubes. Feeding all that is a custom bespoke VPI HW40 drive mechanism. VPI let me use these for custom tables I designed. That is bolted to 2 inches of Pennsylvania slate, so there is 0 vibration. If you put a stethoscope on this table, you would hear nothing. That is on top of a void-free...
I've done that, by the way, on my video channel. I had a mechanic's stethoscope, and that's how I went around to test turntables and stuff.
Yes, yeah, it's a good tip.
It is.
The base has all the electronics in it. Those arm boards are bolted to the base through the slate. They don't actually touch the slate. So they're coupled to the bottom Baltic ply base and its feet, but there's no contact with the arm boards. Now, very special. This is the world premiere of the Thai Scandinavian Engineering Bird tone arm, that is the back left, and the Bird of Prey, that is on the right. They are magnetically stabilized, viscous damped unipivots, but they feel and work like gimbal tone arms. The Bird of Prey comes standard with either a surface mount or SME mount, your choice. It comes with the 12-inch straight fixed head shell arm wand and the 12-inch J SME connector arm wand as standard. Comes with 1.8 meters of cable. The cable can be supplied single-ended, balanced, or field coil, your choice. This arm has variable effective mass. It can go from 14 grams to 52 grams. No other arm like it in the world. It's the best tone arm I've heard by a major margin. There is no groove noise from this tone arm, as you just heard. That's 10,500. The Bird, without the outriggers, it's basically the same tone arm, comes only with 1 tone arm cable, again a tone arm wand, either J or straight, you choose. You do have a choice of fixed or SME style bass, and that's 8,500.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So we're here today at the Capital Audiofest 2022 in Rockville, Maryland, and we have the pleasure of talking with David Janszen of famous Janszen Speakers, and he has something special to talk about today. Dave?
Yes, I do. We're launching today, without any promotional advance notice whatsoever, the 9.5, which is takeoff on the KLH9. but updated
Right.
by 5 times.
And of course, you have a very close connection to the history of the KLH9, of course.
The KLH9 was developed by my father
Yes.
in the mid-1950s and put into production at KLH at the beginning of the 60s. And it was I hate to say icon, but
Absolutely.
landmark development.
Of course, still legendary.
Still, yes, you could say legendary.
Yeah, legend. No.
You say it, not me.
That's okay, I can say that.
And so this is updated from having all
Right.
electrostatic woofers and
Yes.
a little tweeter to having 6.
Right, we've got a picture of it here we can kind of refer to right here.
We've got 6 ceramic cone 8-inch woofers
Yeah.
running open baffle, and they cross over at 200 hertz to a synthetic aperture line array electrostatic. It's here, it's 4 feet tall, and it uses time delays to flanking segments to create a little bit wider dispersion than you could possibly get from such a wide
Yes.
aperture. And, yet it is allowed as that size aperture. So
Right.
these things go much louder than the KLH9 did.
Yes.
Anyone who's familiar with them, they sounded great, but you couldn't really like shake your chest with them.
Yeah.
These will do 116 dB steady state. if you
Wow.
wanted to.
That's amazing.
You put enough power in them.
Wow.
400 watts will do that.
Now, are these still in development? Are they ready to ship or getting close?
They're almost done.
Almost ready.
This is the first article that we built. I've got
Sure.
2 prototypes ahead of these. These are the first ones with all the parts that I'm actually
Yes.
thinking of using. And they work, but there's still some details.
Still working on the fine
one
details.
of them rattles a little with bass notes, that kind of thing.
I understand.
Fix it.
Do you have a projected cost?
Yep, 19,500.
Okay.
Sold direct.
Okay.
So you don't have to deal with that 50% markup. From
Yes. Very cool.
They're a little heavier than the old 9s were, so
Yeah.
we might actually offer a delivery and setup
Sure.
service.
Right, I understand. David, this is fascinating, and I love that you're carrying on the torch, and I like that what was once old is new again, and there's some amazing products in the hi-fi industry. I'm thinking like the Denon 103 cartridge, the original quad speakers, I guess. There's a bunch of these things that still seem to have relevance here in 2022, and I congratulate you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, David.
You're very welcome.
Okay, we're here at the Capital Audio Fest, and we're with Jay from Jay's Audio Lab. Talked to you last year, and got your impressions. That was the first year, I think you'd come.
Correct.
And now you're back for a second year. That's
Yeah.
good. So you must have liked it enough last year.
Absolutely.
And recently you've been experimenting with vinyl.
Yes.
And I want to hear your impressions so far.
So far, preliminary feelings. Obviously, this is me being a digital guy, right?
Absolutely.
For the last 10 years, all I've known is digital.
Of course.
And I've had the Kronos turntable for about a week now, a week and a half maybe.
Like a very substantial piece of equipment.
And one of the biggest things I notice is the richness
Yeah.
I find with vinyl that
Yeah.
may be perhaps missing with digital. You don't have to try hard to extract this beauty out of the music with vinyl. It's
Right.
kind of like it's just there,
Yeah.
embedded.
It's a 100-year-old medium. It hung on for a reason.
And I've done a lot of comparisons of records, vinyl records against streaming. And I can say maybe here on your channel before I even say it on mine that it makes me feel as if streaming was a watered down version of a great record.
Yeah.
You can hear how the recordings are not as defined. There's not the same feeling of realism. And I did this with about 9 different albums so far.
Okay.
And the outcome was the same.
Right.
It was even with albums that I think were recorded digitally. Like I was trying a Taylor Swift album that just recently
Right.
released. She's primarily digital.
Yeah.
And I tried it streaming, and I tried it on vinyl, and I thought, well, at this point, I should give the edge to streaming.
Absolutely.
Because vinyl still took it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then I went to Nirvana, "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
Yeah, that would be a
Song
good
that
one.
we know is not necessarily an audiophile song, right?
Right.
But known to be that. It sounded so disorganized in the streaming version, high-res version of Cobus, in comparison to the vinyl version. The vinyl version had a lot more dynamic contrast. Dynamic swings were greater. Everything, you could just separate the guitars. Every guitar was separate. Everything was just front and center. And
Delineation.
And it was actually engaging. I
Yeah.
actually didn't feel like cringing when
Right.
when that song gets going. It's a
Yeah.
lot happening.
Absolutely.
And I didn't do any of this. I just took it, and it was fairly loud. And what's funny is
Yeah.
that the volume level remain constant, yet I felt that with vinyl it doesn't feel as loud, yet my sound decibel meter is telling me, oh, it is the same volume, but it's just so much more natural and organic that it doesn't really punish your hearing, if that makes sense.
Sure. Now, one of the downsides of vinyl is it's a little noisier medium, even with great pricings. But did that irritate you or bother you, or?
So that's one of the things that a lot of people were asking me. Wait until you get enough of those clicks and pops, right? People were saying you're going to get turned off and you're going to leave that rabbit hole. Well, I'm here to tell you that yes, I hear them occasionally. Not a lot as many people make them out to be. Like, people are making it out to be like it's unbearable.
Well, you're starting at a very high level, and my experience is being into vinyl as well as digital for all this time, but vinyl, because I grew up with it, the better the equipment, the quieter vinyl gets.
Yeah, and so that's kind of like the next thing I was thinking about was the fact that, yes, there are some trade-offs where you hear clicks and pops and missing all of this, right? And of course, I've gotten a lot of expert opinion as far as how to mitigate that, cleaning the records properly, all of these things, right? Demagnetizing things, all of these things that people tell me. But the truth is that the presentation is so delicious that you don't care about the pops or the hissing, because what you hear behind it, it's just mind-boggling. That, listen, I'm willing to deal with the bleeding.
Right.
Because what is it that they say? The lemon is worth the squeeze. What is it? What's that saying? I've heard this.
Oh, that's
the squeeze
what
is worth the lemon. Or something like that.
Okay.
It's worth it to me.
Yeah.
It's
well, also, I think one thing that's very important to remember is a lot of these records, especially if you have the original pressings, are when the tape was new, when the mastering was done. I know there's a lot of emphasis now on remastering and repressing, but there's something to be said for some of these original records, and you may find as you purchase them and stuff, those original pressings are very close to when that tape was very new. You're getting very close,
And lastly, I want to make sure that I'm clear on something.
Sure.
I was comparing the streaming experience to vinyl, not necessarily apples to oranges. We have to use media. We have to actually get high-res files. We have to use a super audio CD player to make it apples to apples, and then go back to the drawing board and decide, does it get closer?
Right. Well, I think it's exciting that you're pursuing this. I think for me, it's not just about the sound, which is important, but I have a lot of recordings that have never come out on digital medium. I actually probably have hundreds of records.
Interesting.
Because every time you have a format change, stuff gets left behind.
Sure.
So that's very important to me, because I want that music.
And I feel like when you're listening through digital, you are great at being a DJ. You are good at changing songs, and you fail to hear an entire album.
As a lot of these, records in the 70s, 80s, they were created as a complete, like a book. It was a complete. You don't just read a chapter of a book. You listen to the whole, read the whole book.
I've caught myself listening to the whole thing, which is something that I can't say I've done in the past with digital.
Sure.
Streaming.
Yeah, you can hop around so much.
I songs and I create my playlist, and that's what I listen to. Right. And so with vinyl, I feel like it encourages you to locate new things, new albums, new records that you never knew you would like. But vinyl actually made you like them.
Yeah, like one of the first records I think you listened to was Joan Armatrading, which is a classic, amazing record.
Amazing. Like, I'm still blown away by that song. And last but not least, I want to make sure that people understand one thing. I'm not here to lean towards digital or analog. I'm not here to say which is better than the other, because I own both. And great versions of both, right?
Sure.
Great DAC, a great turntable. For me, I'm just speaking from ownership, and giving you guys my opinion. At the end of the day, you guys are the ones who have to make that decision. What's more convenient? 9 times out of 10, digital will be the most convenient format. And so I can understand if maybe you have had a long day at work, you don't want to be getting up. I totally get it, man. If you love digital, you like your CD player, you like playing your CDs or streaming. I've done that myself for the last 10 years. But I do feel like the vinyl section is a little more special. When you get up, I am stopping myself from being analytical. I don't want to get involved with tinkering, with measuring, with a lot of work with vinyl. I want the turntable to be almost as plug and play as possible.
Well, it can be,
Although I know, yes, you have to do certain adjustments over time and align things, but I am not going to be doing that every day of the week. That is not the personality. I want vinyl to be like my destination to audio nirvana, if that makes sense. I've already done a lot of tinkering with digital, So I don't want to turn vinyl.
We've noticed.
You guys have noticed. I don't want to turn vinyl into that, and you know, and also, you know, something needs to be said about the fact that, you know, DACs have gotten a lot better.
Agreed.
Cheaper ones are really bringing a lot more performance. And I would love to know actually from some of the industry experts, specifically those who have done vinyl for the majority of their life. Is there a specific price threshold, a price point in which 9 times out of 10 it's better to own a DAC because perhaps the turntable that you have isn't probably as good? I heard an expert, he's going to go nameless, he actually told me that yes, there is such thing where you can have a DAC at a certain price point that perhaps that turntable won't be able to overcome or outperform easily that such DAC.
Yeah.
But when you get to the top heavy hitters and you see a DAC that's $250,000, clearly you can get a turntable for half the money or even less that can perhaps best it without problem.
Yeah. Well, of course, VPI is you know, you're right. We're right here at their booth, and they know a fair amount about getting the best out of vinyl. So
and you know, and I originally wanted to go to VPI, but I ended up with Kronos.
Right.
And I'm not disappointed by any means. I have a great person that I work with, a guy by the name of Oz from Let There Be Sound. All he does is vinyl.
Yeah.
That's his passion. So I can definitely feel his passion. He left his fingerprints on my vinyl setup, and I'm just enjoying the fruits of his labor.
That's great.
You know?
That's how you should do it. Yeah. Well, I'm glad. Well, I found that an interesting turn because, you know, you had not gone there before, so I was my ears peaked up when you started. Hey, he's going to look into vinyl. You know,
you're not the only person. A lot of people have given me.
Well, you know, I grew up with vinyl. You know, I mean,
and I did too. But I never played it. But I remember my grandmother playing, you know, Michael Jackson and a lot of her songs from back in the '80s, and I remember those days. You know, but I was just a kid running around playing soccer.
Yeah, I know.
And I remember her getting up to play vinyl and listen to her music on a Saturday or Sunday, and that was a normal thing. But now here I am, you know, in my 40s, attempting to do the same. Maybe someday I can teach my daughter when she's old enough to appreciate. But at the end of the day, you know, I always say this is a subjective hobby that you are in charge of. It's what you like. It's not what Jay likes. Right. It's not what you like, because you're the one paying the bills and you're the one spending your money. All I'm doing is giving you my point of view, and I'm just an additional data point of reference, if you will. And if what I'm doing serves you well, that's all I want to do. Give you more feedback, and you guys decide if you go with vinyl or digital. I think they're both great formats. They both have their pros and cons. But in the end, I don't know if vinyl will ever be displaced by a different format. I don't know if vinyl will ever be taken out by
it doesn't seem that way now. You know, we thought it was going to die back in the 90s, but something happened, you know, something weird happened, you know.
And I don't know what it is, but you know, it's even with amplification, if you think about it, that Class D, they've been getting better. Class D amplifiers.
I'm a Class D guy.
We have all kinds of rivalry. We hear, is it ever going to do better than Class AB or in Class A? And you see all these hybrid designs with Class D and tubes in the mix. And I can tell you they have really closed the gap from what they used to be. This cold, brittle, glassy sound from way back.
No. You should check out the Purify stuff that Bruno Puzzi, you know.
And so now, you know, we are seeing the advancements when it comes to Class D amplification just getting that much better. You know, now it's a matter of time of seeing how long it will take for a DAC to really not lose the soul that I feel we all find on vinyl, right? Because I do feel as if the digital version sometimes goes through chemotherapy. Right, and it loses some of the healthy cells along the way in order to kill the bad ones. So that's kind of.
And it's always the problem is you're talking about the provenance of these files. Unless you're doing the ripping yourself from CDs and stuff, you just don't know what's happening in the cloud. And there's some funny business going on, and you know,
and so it is definitely a thing, and my system being so revealing, you know, I can tell immediately how it just transforms character. It is as if when you listen to digital at times, don't get me wrong, some recordings are phenomenal, and I'm nitpicking here, but it is as if I flip the switch from input 1 to input 2, 1 being the DAC and input 2 being my vinyl. it feels as if now when I turn to vinyl, now it's a human and it's blinking. Does that make sense? Now it doesn't feel as robotic, for lack of a better word.
Right.
There is some feeling like that, but it's hard to put it into words. I'm using the best.
No, you're doing fine. You're very loquacious. Jay, I appreciate your time. I wanted to follow up with you because I thought this was a very good point to catch up with you.
Yeah, great.
We'll talk about as you say, your foray into vinyl, and we're going to be watching to see how it goes, and you're going to report to us and tell it like it is, as you do.
I always will tell it like it is, because at the end of the day, guys, it's my ownership of all these components.
Right.
Nobody's sending me anything on loan. I'm not getting freebies. I pay for all of this stuff.
We understand.
And all I'm doing is reporting back to you guys. That's it.
And we appreciate your effort and time.
Anytime.
So once again, for the Capital Audio Fest 2022, Jay's Audio Lab, check him out on Jay's Audio Lab on YouTube.
Subscribe, guys.
Yep,
Check out my website.
That's right.
Well.
Click that subscribe and like. We all appreciate that.
Thank you so
much. Thank you,
Thanks
Jay.
for having me.
Yep. So we're here at the Capital Audio Fest 2022, and with OCD Mikey.
What's up?
Just ripping up the internet with his views on audio and other subjects. And he's got his tribe and all that good stuff that he's doing.
Yes.
And today I wanted to ask you about, I know you're kind of skeptical about some of the hi-fi world. You've been around the block a few times, as you've told us. But I'd be interested to hear if there's anything that's kind of captured your imagination at the show or you're anticipating.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Well, what I like, first off, I can tell you about Capital Audio Fest in general, speaking to being here so far for my first day, is that it's a lot less corporate flex like Axpona is. Axpona is real corporate, in-your-face corporate stuff, and that's the stuff that I shy away from, that I don't really like. I like the smaller companies, the more passion, man. I was in some great rooms today. Linkwitz was interesting in what it did. It did some the speakers vanished. I listened to Margules audio, which had some a vacuum tube amplifier and some kind of tall speakers. I think it was like the whole system was around maybe 30K, and sounded really good. Oh man, Wolf von Lange, I heard that brand today for my first time and really liked that. It was killer, yeah.
Right.
So
I got a room to suggest. Check out tomorrow.
A what?
A room for you to check out tomorrow.
Okay,
It'd be cool to get your reaction. It's a Bach SP.
Oh, okay.
This guy, he's I think a Princeton professor.
Princeton, yes. I'm going to see him tomorrow.
You should. I think you'll find it at least fascinating.
I'm
whether
sure I
you know.
will.
And so I mean, he put on a Led Zeppelin tune.
Yes.
And I thought I just joined the band.
Killer.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So,
some great stuff.
Next question.
Yes.
20-year-old comes to you and says, "Man, I really want to get into hi-fi, but I don't have the dollars to get started at your level."
Yeah.
Any recommendations on what they should do?
A good place to start. There was another brand.
Geshelli. They're here today. They're here.
Yes,
yeah.
I saw that.
They're out of Florida.
That looked like a great value.
They make good stuff.
And that's a great story too. An all-American family building the stuff, designing the circuits in America, building everything in America. Right. Super cool. And those were in the hundreds of dollars.
Absolutely.
I heard about a new Andrew Young speaker, right? That was that's $3,700. MoFi is bringing it. And I think that's going to
Andrew
be
Jones.
Andrew Jones.
Yeah,
sorry.
that's right. Yeah.
Who the hell's Andrew?
Yeah,
Jones?
that's another must. That's another must. Well, yeah, you're from Atlanta,
Jones,
right?
Yes,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
Right.
I
I'm thinking
understand.
of the street.
Of course.
Anyways, yeah.
You're forgiven.
Andrew Jones. Yeah, MoFi is bringing this thing.
Right.
And it's supposed to be pretty killer for $3,700.
I was impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think they're going to sell a few of those. I think.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
Great to see you. I'm glad you made the trip up
you,
here.
brother.
I know it's not great weather for you, not like in Atlanta. It should be a little better tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys.
And good luck with your YouTube.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, bye.
Okay, cheers.
I came in the middle. Can you just do a 30-second synopsis again on what your system does?
Okay, this is called the Bach SP.
Yes.
And it's a digital processor. It also comes with a DAC or without a DAC. And it's based, it does what's called crosstalk cancellation. So that stereo is purified from what's called crosstalk, which corrupts the spatial cues that your brain needs to hear sound in 3D. So when you play stereo signal through here, especially if it's acoustic recording, your brain will perceive the spatial cues correctly and will put the sources exactly what they are. For example, a musician was standing right here, he would hear it there. Plus the ambiance of the room would be reproduce in 3D image.
And you can extract that from a standard stereo
Any stereo
recording.
that has good stereo image
Yes.
will become 3D.
Yeah,
If it's
live
recorded-
recordings are particularly good, I guess.
particularly good
Yeah.
because if they have good reverb and good stereo
Good,
image,
yeah.
they'll become very, very convincing to the point where it can be uncanny.
What about actual like binaural recordings or something that's?
Binaural recordings are the best because
So you handle that as well, okay?
that's the best because these give you, you can play your binaural recordings.
Yeah.
You can make them right now also because we have binaural microphones, and these will give you not only a 3D image but a very accurate one. So if I come and whisper in your ear, you'll hear me whisper in your ear from 2 speakers. We
Wow.
can also do that right now.
Okay, sure. And your name, I'm sorry, is?
My name is Edgar Choueiri.
Okay.
Yes, and I'm the president of the company.
Very good, thank you.
Now the microphones are live. You see them?
Yeah,
And then you click on fire. You sit in the sweet spot,
yeah.
and you hear the sweeps coming from the speakers.
Ah,
And
okay.
then these are recorded at the entrance of your
Yes.
canals, and that's all the information we need to know about you.
You run that
about your
once,
room,
yeah.
About your speakers, about your amps, your cables, everything is recorded by the sweep.
Excellent,
Okay, and
yeah.
then that's used to create what's called a park filter.
Very cool.
And then once you create it, goes into you can see its performance. You can go now.
Yeah.
You choose it, and bin number 3 is head tracking. If you look straight, you see now your head is being tracked as you
Oh,
move right and
okay.
left.
Yeah.
Because we need to know where your head is.
Okay.
And then that's it. Anything you play will go through the back models. One of them is just a processor, digital in, digital out. It's called a DO, digital in out. And there's another one with a DAC and an 80 converters.
Okay.
So you can turn phono stage or, and it's also a streamer, so you can actually stream Roon to it.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, and it's also has preamp, so you can go directly into power speakers if you want. But the stripped down model is the one that's just a single processor, so you can rely on your own DAC.
Okay, okay. What is the cost? Yeah.
The processor without the DAC is $19,000.
Okay. And where does it go in your system between?
It can go, by the way, it can design to integrate in any system, but typically it can be the source, and it can be, right now, to illustrate how simple it is, we're going from here to power speakers, that's it. There's nothing except we have an Ethernet cable, we don't have any CDs.
Is it like Roon compatible or anything like? Oh, okay.
So you can stream to it.
Straight to it. So yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
an
Okay.
Ethernet cable on the back, and that's what we're doing right now. But you can put your CD player, you can put your phono stage.
Sure.
I collect tapes, so I have my studio machine into it, analog, digital, what have you.
And again, it's called the Bach SP.
We just reviewed as coming in the December issue of the Absolute Sound.
Okay.
You can grab the review right there. It's
And
this.
how do you pronounce your company?
Theoretica with a TH.
Theoretica.
Theoretica.
For us Americans, we don't up at our Greek. We don't.
Theta.
Theta.
But there's a TH in the bottom.
There we go. There we go.
This is a company.
That's a little more internet friendly.
Yes. Yeah, this is a company, a startup. I'm an academic. I'm a university professor, so we have a research lab on this issue.
But they were interested in.
I'm on the Asian audio. This one, for me, it's stacks.
All right, Stacks is only a handful of places you can get it, so it's nice to see them represented here.
Audio 46.
Audio 46 has them, yeah. I work with them a little bit.
And then Head Amp has.
Head Amp also has one. Woo Audio also is doing stacksaudio.com. So, I know you can get them. It's just there's only so few places. Let's sound. they're definitely stacks. You can tell. They're beautiful. Anyway, lovely meeting you. I'll be back around, I'm sure.
I listen to your voice all the time.
Yeah, I know. Well, I get recognized either from my hands or my voice. It's better that it's the voice and the hands. When it's the hands, it's weird. I remember walking to a room, I didn't do anything. I was on my phone, like, you see us?
You're a hand model. You didn't know it. We met.
Nice talking to you.
Met last year. I don't know if you remember. Yeah. Good to see you again.
COVID happens. We just all shake hands.
That's
now,
all right.
if you gave it to me and I gave it to you, or at least you're going the other way.
That's right.
I got to bring my hand sanitizer, wipe it on me.
Thanks for coming back again.
Always.
That's
I
cool.
mean, this is my favorite show.
Yeah.
Because I like speakers, and it's starting to get.
Yeah. Now, have you heard the new Andrew Jones speakers?
I just got here today.
Okay. Well, you need to hear them. They are. Well, it's 634 MoFi. Andrew is here.
Hold on one second, Justin. He's here. So I'll find him.
Yeah.
He'll be in the thing.
Prodigious bass. I think you will be. Very impressed.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We're here at the Capital Audio Fest 2022, and we're checking in again with the Mytek founder and engineer, Michal Jurewicz. What we really want to get to the bottom of is, what are your new products that you're showing here? You've got something very special.
A lot has happened during COVID. I spent a lot of time designing a whole new line of products.
Yes.
And that basically includes two products that we were making or starting to make, but now it became basically the main products, which is first the streamer. In other words, we use our DAC technology and added a streaming engine to it. And then the second thing that we were working on were amplifiers, and we basically working with a new technology called GaNFET, gallium nitride transistors.
Very popular.
The amplifiers are based on that. So a lot of experiments in 2020, 2021 went to both of those new lines of products, and essentially what we now have is a complete line of electronics from the Wi-Fi to the speaker, basically, where we can play music and then amplify it and basically send it to the speaker in 3 product line. There is here you see the flagship. It's called Empire line, and it's basically the Empire streamer and 2 Empire monoblocks. And Empire streamer is available now and shipping. The Empire monoblocks we are featuring here, but we will not going to have them until about winter of next year.
And what is the output on the amplifiers?
The amplifiers are 800 watts into 8 ohms. 800 watts into 4 ohms and 400 into 8 ohms.
Well, that's more than.
And they are monoblocks that actually can also be bi-amp. They are in fact 2 amplifiers in each monoblock, so you can bi-amp a system with.
That's tremendous.
The most important thing is the sound of them. It's a new technology, it's a Class D architecture, but with a completely new approach because of those new transistors that completely changes the sound characteristics of the Class D amplifier, and you get basically the best of both worlds. You get tube-like top and upper mid-range, very silky and light and not harsh, but then you get also a very tight bass, tight transistor bass, actually even tighter than Class AB amplifier. So my personal belief is that this is gonna be a dominant amplifier technology in the next 10
part of that
years.
club.
Yes.
And isn't one of the features of the GaNFET is it allows for a faster switching, so it pushes those frequencies even higher.
What's all about is that Class D outputs a square wave. And if the square wave was ideal, in other words, you had perfect 90-degree angles, then you will have an amplifier with 0 distortion. The problem with amplifiers up until now, Class D amplifiers, is that the square wave was distorted because transistors weren't switching fast enough. So you got trapezoidal instead of square output, and then you get all kinds of overshoots that basically produce distortions that you heard when you were hearing traditional Class D amplifiers. What happens with GaNFET is that this square wave gets much more square, and suddenly all low-level resolution comes out, and you suddenly get the sound stage, you get all these things that you were missing in the earlier versions of Class D amplifiers. And what's very important also is that Class GaNFET transistors allows you to make the amplifiers without feedback. If you can get the square wave square, then you generally don't need feedback and they still sound good, which is something that we are also kind of looking into. That's particularly important for a digital input Class D amplifiers.
Also, it's something you're talking about bass response in the speakers. It's my understanding, I think Class D amps are particularly good at being pretty much impervious to the typical bass impedance issues that you might have compared to some other topologies.
Especially tube amplifiers that have transformed. So when you get a typical tube amplifier, you get silky top and beautiful mid-range, but you also get transformer base, which is often difficult
Right,
to
and
get
it,
tight
if you don't
and
get the
deep.
batching right and everything,
Yes.
it's much harder to get perfect. That's fantastic. Why don't we step over in a moment here? We'll take a break and go over and look at your new Brooklyn
Yeah,
Bridge too.
Okay, so as I said,
Yeah.
the products line are similar. So in other words, you have Empire line, which consists of streamer preamplifier that's powered by Roon.
Right.
It's our best DAC ever, and there is a whole a lot of things that I can say about this. We're not going to talk about this now. Just basically telling you that we have a streamer and amplifiers, and we have 3 lines of products like that. There is the Empire line, there is the less expensive Brooklyn line, which
Right.
is basically $4,000 streamer and $2,500 amplifier, and we're gonna see that in a moment. And there's one in between that we haven't finished yet. It's a Manhattan bridge and Manhattan amplifier, and that would be priced at about $8,000 and $7,000.
Oh, okay.
So we
That's
have
some news, yep.
we have the same kind of technology
Right.
for each for every budget, and of course there are differences, but
Yeah.
they all
Well,
very
good,
for the
better,
prices.
best kind of.
Yes,
Okay, we're
right.
back here now. We're going to check in on the new Brooklyn Bridge line of products, and Michal will elucidate us on that.
Right. So Brooklyn Bridge is our cutest, smallest, yet very powerful streamer that basically consists of the Mytek Brooklyn DAC of a grade of DAC Plus and a Nuke board that is basically similar to Roon Nucleus. And all this is basically like combining a DAC with the Nucleus in one box. And essentially, you operate it the same way you would operate Empire, which is basically use Roon to browse music and play music. You have additional functionality. This is a touch screen that you can use to get additional functionality on that's basically allows you to access the preamp. There is a phono input actually on this one. You can also access Bluetooth if you want. It's a $4,000 streamer, and then the piece underneath, if you need it, if you need the power amp, you have a matching Class D stereo amplifier called Brooklyn Amp Plus, and we are showing them here with a bookshelf totem speakers. It's basically a small, cute bookshelf system that does everything
it's
you
beautiful.
need to know.
It is. It's something
And of course you have also headphone outputs. That's why we're featuring the headphones.
Gotta have the headphones. Something I like the fact I'm a big Roon person, and I actually did a very popular video on Roon. And something that piqued my interest. You're talking about the nucleus. This actually could serve as a server. Does it run the Roon core?
Yes, it runs the Roon core. And
so it's a server. It could be a server.
Exactly like a nucleus. So you can actually use
hook up a hard disk.
Yes, you can. We actually are about to announce the second version of this one. This one does not have big hard disk. It has a 64 gigabyte hard drive inside.
But I was thinking maybe a USB.
But yes, you can add US. You can plug in USB in the back. But you can also get a version that has 2 terabytes drive. And the internal drives as well as the ones that are plugged in.
So those like the SSD drives or something like that?
SSD drives. And
2 terabytes, that's a good amount of storage.
So the way this works is that once this drive is inside or plugged in the back port, you can actually see it on the network. So if you have a computer that's on the same network, you can drag and drop files on those drives from your computer.
That's fantastic. So that's something I did, and you've now educated me here, that having the core functionality, that ups the value quotient of your product quite a bit more, because if you're a Roon user and you'd like to get started, you don't have to. You're ready to go with
this product. Nucleus. This is like Nucleus inside.
Right,
our
with your
box,
great
with
DAC.
The whole functionality of
That's tremendous. I don't think anyone has done that level of integration. I guess you're pretty tight with the Roon Labs people. I guess they're pretty happy with what you're doing.
Roon started this licensing program recently. And we did this complete integration.
Right.
There are other companies, for example, Merging, that made 2 separate boxes. Right. They did it
but this
earlier,
is,
but this is the first box that I believe has Roon.
I've never heard of anything like this. This is big news for me. I'm very impressed that you were able to build that in, because now I can say if someone's interested in Roon, because with Roon today, you have to be a little bit savvy about, okay, well, I got to have either a nucleus, or I'm going to do my own with a NUC or something like that. Right. There's a little bit of, if you're not savvy networking wise, you're solving that problem. You buy your product, and soon you'll have the built-in upgraded storage. You're ready to go, plug and play.
Exactly. What the idea generally was to, before when you build a Roon system, it was a distributed system.
Exactly.
You had to be a little bit of a geek to put it together.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
And what we do here, we essentially integrate it together and make it a turnkey, so the user that doesn't understand network can still fairly easily start using this.
I think that's fantastic, and I'm glad you clarified and made that for us. So that's fantastic. Fantastic. Michal, thank you so much for your time, and your products are always very innovative, and that's why I love coming and checking out, and I hope you have a great Capital Audio Fest.
Yes, thank you very much.
Great. Thanks again. Bye.
I think we have one of the best sounding rooms here.
I concur.
I don't know if you agree, but that's
you're certainly your boxes are without parallel, and what I'm learning today about the Brooklyn Bridge 2 has me very, very intrigued. It's very interesting. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, we're here at CAF, Capital Audio Fest 2022, and we're talking with Highwater Sound, Jeffrey Cantalano, back. Well, he was one of the early exhibitors, I think, in the very early CAF days, and he's back for a repeat. Always has very nice foliage, so if you need a little refreshment, the air and all that, I recommend his room. But I would say you're a dedicated vinyl file, and that's what I respect that about you, and I like to visit you. So the questions I have today with you is any thoughts about the balanced output kind of trend, maybe for some phono outputs? Any thoughts on balanced output?
Well, that would have to depend on the phono stage and then the rest of the chain.
Sure.
So it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
If the whole chain is balanced, yes, you would want that, because the phono cartridge inherently is balanced.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
So it just makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But most systems aren't balanced.
They're not that way today.
So it doesn't make any difference.
But
I do represent a brand that does everything balanced. Their phono stage is all balanced, but I don't have I've not run a balance cable from the cartridge to any of it, so I don't really have first-hand info on it.
Yeah, but it's an interesting trend, because Project, as we're talking about, has a fairly low-cost setup now, and they seem to be promoting it as an idea. So. Cool. The other idea I wanted to ask you about is the idea of alternate pickup technologies such as DS Audio, SoundSmith with their strain gauge, and whether you think, right now it seems like kind of a niche kind of thing, but people that have it, just rave about it.
It's not my thing.
Yeah.
I'm using a Neumann DST right now.
Okay.
So we're back to the 50s.
Right.
So, and it's not that I'm a throwback and I'm not anti-technology. I'm all about it.
Right.
It's just.
I think it's still, unfortunately, until more vendors get on board. If you saw like an Ortofon adopt the idea, then maybe, you could say. But right now it seems to be a very kind of niche kind of thing.
It's kind of niche. It's also very expensive.
Yeah.
And the ones that I've heard, in my experience, have all been extremely soulless. And to me, if you take the soul away from the music, why don't you get another hobby?
Right. And there's such a legacy of compatible cartridges and stuff. People are resurrecting all sorts of things. I just picked up an SME cartridge on eBay that everybody was raving about, and I know I can use it on any system I want,
Absolutely. And, that's the thing. And you don't need the problem also with these other cartridges, you have to use their phono stage.
Exactly. It's a system.
It's a system. And if you're into it, it's totally cool.
Sure.
Once again.
Yeah.
I'm too all over the place, and when I'm designing systems, I'm designing it towards for the people who are listening, what they listen for, their room.
Right.
Just as I think anybody should, but most people don't really take the music in mind.
Yeah.
So I always put music first.
Yeah, you're a holistic type of integrator, as I say.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, it's great to talk to you and see you. I'm so glad that you came back to this
so
year,
much. It's
and I hope
a wonderful show.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, everybody I think enjoys himself, and I hope you have.
I think so.
Yeah, and it's fun to see how it's grown.
Absolutely.
Great.
Gary's done a great
All right.
job.
Gary is the man. He is the man. So again, from Capital Audio Fest 2022, Jeffrey, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Obviously, it looks even more pronounced when you've got lights on it like that.
Right.
You're not going to be lights.
Yeah, all our homes look like this.
But you block the light, and
it disappears.
Yeah. But once you do that, and you go into bigger cones, you've got to be very careful with cone resonances so that they don't colour the sound. And there's two factors that matter there. One of which is you cross over before the region where the cone starts going in breakup.
Yeah, that's really good.
But the other factor of that is,
Thank you. You're welcome to join.
although you're limiting the input signal bandwidth to the driver, you're not limiting the output signal. If you've got distortion in the driver, it couples to the cone directly and excites it with frequencies that were not coming through from the crossover. So I had to pay special attention in the magnet design in order to reduce intermodulation distortions and all sorts of factors like that.